Good morning, and thank you for joining us here today. I'm Attorney General Dana Nessel, and here with me from my office, Assistant Attorney General Eric Sturbis, Assistant Attorney General Michael Freeze, Chief of the Criminal Investigations Division, Aubrey Sargent, from the Michigan State Police, Inspector Robert Weimer, Salim Al-Habash from the Anti-Counterfeiting and Product Protection Center, or ACAP, that's based out of Michigan State University. From Amazon's Internal Counterfeit Crimes Unit, Joe Wheatley. And from Walmart, Ed Henkel, Senior Manager of Global Investigations. So we're here today because I'm announcing charges against 4 Michigan men for their alleged roles operating a large-scale counterfeit product criminal enterprise that operated for years across both Amazon and Walmart online marketplaces, specializing in the illegal trade of counterfeit luxury brand perfumes and colognes. This follows one of the largest ever counterfeit retail product seizures in our state, and certainly the largest in recent memory. Now, I want to say the totality of what I have and will describe today are, at this point, only allegations. All defendants at this stage of the criminal justice process are presumed innocent unless or until proven guilty in a court of law, though these allegations are extensively supported by the lengthy investigation conducted by my force team, and we intend to prove these offenses beyond any reasonable doubt in the courts. In October of 2023, Walmart Global Security contacted my department's force team to assist in their ongoing investigation into suspected counterfeit cologne and perfume merchants. The investigation at this time, spurred by intellectual property rights complaints filed by the legitimate manufacturers of cologne and perfume brands, was focused on one third-party seller on the platform operating as Max Mix-Up LLC. This third-party seller, per Walmart's accounting, had sold more than $1 million worth of the suspected counterfeit product through their online marketplace. The operator of this LLC and associated Walmart merchant account, we allege, was a now 38-year-old Port Huron man named Kyle McIntyre. In December of 2023, nearly 40 officers, including special agents from my office, troopers from the Michigan State Police, and agents from the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and Department of Homeland Security investigations, executed search warrants in Port Huron, targeting Mr. McIntyre's business enterprise, and seized more than 300 boxes of then suspected and since verified counterfeit perfumes and colognes. Some of the fruits of this seizure decorate the room that we are now standing in. It was soon discovered in the course of our investigation that Kyle McIntyre additionally operated on Amazon's third-party marketplace under the business moniker Glow Beauty. Amazon informed our investigation that the Glow Beauty merchant account had received more than 100 complaints over the prior 2 years from customers alleging that their product that was delivered was counterfeit. Further investigation led our force team to Mr. McIntyre's wholesale supplier, and the same coalition of law enforcement agencies executed search warrants on 4 locations in Sterling Heights on December 13th, including the warehouse of Shuba Barua, a 29-year-old Sterling Heights resident. On that date, my office and the Michigan State Police conducted one of the largest counterfeit product seizures in the history of the state of Michigan, seizing over 100,000 boxes of counterfeit perfume and cologne. The investigation additionally implicated 2 additional marketplace sellers connected to merchant McIntyre and supplier Barua, each with their own online businesses allegedly peddling counterfeit fragrances. Barua is alleged to have sold product on the Walmart and Amazon marketplaces using the business name Best Buy Distribution LLC. Across other marketplace accounts, across 2 platforms, we allege to be connected to be charged to the charged defendants in this case include Next Level Depot, Bazaar King LLC, Nyla Beauty, Sterling Bloom LLC, 786 Distribution, 877 Distribution, 994 Distribution, 1002 Distribution, and many, many more similarly named distribution business names. I'm incredibly grateful for the efforts of the FORCE team, which I established in 2023 to combat organized retail fraud, the Michigan State Police, the United States Postal Inspection Service, a formalized partnership with the FORCE team, and the investigators with the Department of Homeland Security investigations who became involved when it became apparent that the illegal product had crossed national borders. Walmart's marketplace, much like Amazon and eBay, connects buyers to sellers in an open, free online commerce platform. And that platforming company purportedly vets their third-party is counterfeit, not original, not authentic, not real. And in addition to these customer-raised flags of concern, the legitimate makers of several brands impersonated on these seller accounts issued cease and desist letters to the sellers and filed intellectual property right complaints with the marketplace operators. In an effort to remove and remediate negative reviews, rightly calling out the phony products, defendants in this case then communicated directly with both Amazon and Walmart regarding their claims that the product was less than legitimate. Now, ultimately, Walmart initiated this investigation that would become one led by our FORCE team, and Amazon became involved in late 2023, providing a more complete picture of the alleged illegal business enterprises that we've now put to an end. So today, I am announcing charges against Kyle McIntyre, again, 38 years old from Port Huron, Shuba Barua, 29-year-old of Sterling Heights, Hassan Khan, 28-year-old of Sterling Heights, and Bilal Ahmed, 28 years old from Warren. Mr. McIntyre has been charged with 1 count of conducting a criminal enterprise, 20-year felony, 6 counts of possession of counterfeit goods, a 5-year felony, and 1 count of using a computer to commit a crime, in this instance, a 20-year felony. Defendants Barua, Khan, and Ahmed have each been charged with 1 count of conducting a criminal enterprise, 13 counts of possession of counterfeit goods, and 1 count of using a computer to commit a crime. Each defendant is expected to be arraigned in the 41A District Court in Sterling Heights in the coming days. With the business records we've reviewed, my office could have potentially charged some of these defendants with hundreds of counts of possession of counterfeit goods, though we took a different approach. In this case, we have issued 1 charge each per defendant per each distinct fragrance we uncovered in defendant's possession. And we allege by these charges, these defendants intentionally sold counterfeit fragrances impersonating some of the most recognized luxury perfume and cologne brands in the world. And that includes several Victoria's Secret fragrances, such as Tease, Very Sexy, and Bombshell, from Chanel, Bleu de Chanel, several variants of their Coco line and Chanel No. 5, Abercrombie and Fitch's fragrance Fierce, and from L'Oreal, Giorgio Armani, Lancome, Polo Ralph Lauren, and several variations of Yves Saint Laurent. Counterfeiting is an organized retail crime, and not a victimless one. It steals from legitimate businesses, deceives customers, undermines brand integrity, and may actually endanger unsuspecting customers and with unregulated product sourced from unverifiable chemical plants. What I want Michigan residents and consumers to know is that counterfeit products are widely prevalent likely much more so than you even expect, and found in many more places than you likely assumed. Counterfeit products of all kinds, fragrances such as those behind me, but also clothing, shoes, handbags, and many more products are intended to deceive customers. And they appear in commonplace shopping arenas where shoppers and browsers may have lowered their guard. Anyone buying a Rolex or a Prada purse at a severe discount from a card table on a city street would hopefully have a decent notion that these might be inauthentic items. But when the customer is scrolling a website of a known and trusted retailer such as Walmart or Amazon, it might never occur to them that the product is phony. After all, that would be illegal to sell. But this happens all too often, and online marketplaces are routinely infiltrated by peddlers of fake merchandise. So regardless of where you're shopping, please maintain your vigilance. Remain skeptical about unbelievable deals, and always remember, if the price is too good to be true, it probably is. But apart from deceiving customers and profiting from illegally manufactured products, counterfeit products can be very dangerous. In this instance, we're talking about a chemical product from unverifiable locations manufactured with unknown standards, containing any number of mystery chemicals and ingredients, and making its way to the marketplace, your mailbox, in your bathroom vanity without ever being evaluated for its substance or its safety. Fragrances in particular pose a threat, as this is a product meant to be applied directly to your skin in sensitive areas such as your head and your neck, and there's simply no telling what's inside a counterfeit perfume bottle, and none of the surety that comes from buying from a trusted global brand exists. Unless you, of course, have a sophisticated chemical lab in your basement, that small glass bottle remains an opaque black box. In other instances, counterfeit fragrances have been tested and revealed the presence of heavy metals, animal urine, harsh chemicals that you would never, ever willingly apply, dab, spray anywhere to your body. And we submitted fragrances seized in this enterprise and found within these seized bottles some of the following. Liliol, a synthetic chemical formerly used to impart scent into fragrances. It's been found to be harmful to human fertility, and it's been banned in the European Union, where many of these brands manufacture their fragrances for use in cosmetic products ever since 2022. We found heliotrope and bourgeonal. Both of these substances are suspected to cause health harms in humans, and major makers like L'Oreal has discontinued using them. Counterfeit products are a tool of consumer fraud. They are prevalent in far too many products and in far too many markets presumed to be legitimate. And in some cases, they may actually pose a significant danger to your health. Since its inception in 2023, the FORCE team has shown time and again its ability to take down sophisticated criminal operations. And this investigation is yet another example of what we can accomplish when law enforcement joins forces with the private sector. Walmart's vigilance, combined with the expertise of the FORCE team and our federal partners, stopped a major counterfeit operation in its tracks. And I want to thank Walmart, Amazon, Homeland Security Investigations, the Michigan State Police, and of course the special agents and prosecutors of my FORCE team, and every agency that worked on this case for their commitment to protecting Michigan consumers and businesses. Alongside me again today is Salim Alabash from Michigan University Anti-Counterfeiting and Product Protection Center, again ACAP. In 2024, the FORCE team, ACAP, and the Michigan State Police were jointly awarded a $300,000 federal grant from the Bureau of Justice Assistance for the purpose of investigating counterfeit goods. And we're using those funds jointly with the Michigan State Police, in addition to the MSU ACAP Center, who in turn will help further inform and educate us as to the serious problem of counterfeit goods in the marketplace. And we hope to use today's announcement to further inform consumers about this very topic. And so with that, I'm going to hand this over to Salim Alabash with ACAP.
Good morning. It is an honor to be here on behalf of the Michigan State University Center for Anti-Counterfeiting and Product Protection, ACAP. My name is Salim Al-Khabash, and I am the Center's Associate Director for Research. The ACAP Center is the first and only multidisciplinary academic center solely dedicated to research, education, and outreach on brand protection and anti-counterfeiting. Our work spans multiple industries and sectors and is focused on better understanding the phenomena of trademark counterfeiting and intellectual property protection. Through our multi-stakeholder partnerships with industry leaders, law enforcement agencies, policymakers, and academics, we strive to develop effective and evidence-based solutions for making shopping safer, enhancing transparency, and protecting consumers, especially those who are vulnerable to deception and harm. We're deeply grateful to the Michigan State Police and the Attorney General's Office for their leadership and commitment to prioritizing anti-counterfeiting and consumer safety. The case presented today highlights the importance of collaboration in addressing the growing threat of counterfeiting, and by bringing together law enforcement, industry, and academic partners like the ACAP Center to safeguard consumers and ensure a fair and trustworthy marketplace. The rapid growth of global supply chains and online shopping has brought undeniable benefits: wider product access to consumers anywhere they have a device, new opportunities for small businesses, and a thriving global economy. However, this same evolution has also opened the door for bad actors who manufacture and sell counterfeit goods to unsuspecting consumers. These illicit activities undermine legitimate businesses, distort competition, and most concerning of all, jeopardize consumer health and safety. The global trade in counterfeit goods is now worth $470 billion US, making up over 2% of all global imports, and that number keeps on growing. In the United States alone, Customs and Border Protection made more than 19,000 seizures of counterfeits in 2024. The estimated value of seized counterfeit goods doubled in just 4 years, with a 95% increase just in the last year. Counterfeits are no longer limited to flea markets or shady back alleys. They are increasingly showing up on major e-commerce platforms and social media marketplaces. E-commerce is growing fast, and the rise of social media-driven shopping is growing even faster and is expected to reach nearly $18 trillion by 2033. While this reflects a booming online economy, it also means counterfeit goods will become even more widespread unless we take action. Counterfeiters are exploiting digital platforms to reach consumers faster and more directly than ever. They are using sophisticated marketing tactics and even artificial intelligence or AI to mimic legitimate listings and trick consumers into thinking they are buying the real thing. While many people associate buying counterfeit goods with fake handbags or knockoff sneakers, the reality is much broader and far more dangerous. Counterfeit products span nearly every product category: medicine, pharmaceutical products and medical devices, airbags, toys, food, alcoholic beverages, clothing, and, like in this case, fragrances or perfumes. Counterfeit purchasing isn't just a consumer choice, it is a systemic problem. It undermines local and national economies, puts legitimate jobs at risk, and creates an unfair playing field. Unlike authentic products, counterfeits are produced in unregulated environments with no quality control and no regard whatsoever for consumer safety. So why should we care? Because counterfeiting impacts every single one of us. Everyone who shops online or buys branded products here in the state of Michigan and elsewhere. In today's digital environment, we are constantly flooded with ads, deals, and influencer endorsements. It is increasingly difficult to distinguish what's authentic and what's fake. And even when consumers are aware of the risks, the speed and convenience of online shopping often override caution. Our team at the ACAP Center conducted a global survey of consumers across the US and 16 other countries. Alarmingly, 74% of those surveyed have indicated that they bought counterfeits knowingly and or unknowingly. And even after consumers recognize that the products they bought were counterfeits, many do not take action. In fact, nearly 40% of those who we surveyed said that they kept the product even after learning that it was counterfeit. Let's be clear, counterfeit goods are not harmless knockoffs. They carry real, often serious risks. Our research shows that while consumers are generally aware that counterfeits are risky, they underestimate those risks and feel helpless about protecting themselves. Using and consuming counterfeit products can be serious. At best, someone can get a poor quality product, but they and their loved ones could also get injured or harmed by it. 1 in 5 of US consumers in our study reported experiencing negative health effects from counterfeit products. Nearly a quarter reported a personal injury from such use. From drugs to clothing, accessories, and perfumes, fake products may contain harmful substances and ingredients like fentanyl, arsenic, lead, and other harmful chemicals. Imagine what that means for counterfeit food, toys, airbags, or as in the case we're addressing today, fragrances, which are applied directly to and are absorbed by our skin. The risks can be immediate and long-term. The bottom line is this: counterfeiting is everywhere, and so are its consequences. Addressing this challenge requires a united front. Government, law enforcement, brands, and universities must work together to educate and empower consumers. To all consumers, we know online shopping is fast, convenient, enjoyable, and quite frankly, here to stay. However, what we recommend is that you pause before you click. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Bad actors rely on quick decisions and blind trust. Consumers have the power to make informed decisions and deserve to be safe. As consumers, we owe it to ourselves and our loved ones to shop smart. Buying authentic products isn't just about quality. It's about protecting your health and peace of mind. When possible, shop from trusted local stores. If you're shopping online, make sure to look closely at product listings and check if the seller profile looks legitimate. Even if your favorite influencer is promoting the product, do not assume it's safe. Counterfeiters use popular faces to sell dangerous fakes. In closing, we're grateful to Attorney General Dana Nessel, the dedicated team at the AG's office, and the Michigan State Police for their leadership and commitment to prioritizing anti-counterfeiting and consumer safety across the state. The fight against counterfeiting is a shared responsibility, and collaboration is at the heart of our strategy. It is part of the Pure Michigan spirit. When faced with a challenge, we come together to solve it. This issue may start here, but it echoes across the nation and the globe. We all have a role to play in Michigan and beyond. Thank you, and I'll hand it over to Michigan State Police Inspector Robert Wyman.
Thank you. Good morning. The Michigan State Police is excited to continue to build partnerships. The great work that the force team does on a daily basis and the investigation that we're highlighting today would not be possible without the partnerships of our federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, the Michigan Attorney General's office, as well as retailers and universities, as well as the media. And so we just continue to build those relationships and look forward to additional investigations like the one that we're highlighting today. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Attorney General.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your very hard work on this case, and we're able to take questions if anybody has them.
Secretary? Thanks, Amy. Tiara Brad, Channel 7 ABC affiliate here in Detroit. I think you might have said this, but in case I missed it, how long had McIntyre been in business selling counterfeit goods?
Can you answer that?
Yes, I believe he's been in business since about 2016. So it has been several years.
Thank you. Melanie?
Melanie Coleman, Spectrum News. My question is, you said that Walmart first brought this issue up and then Amazon joined in. Are they going to be held responsible for this taking place on their marketplace platforms?
Well, obviously, this was a cooperative effort to, take down this criminal enterprise, and we count on our, whether it is a brick and mortar retailer to be our partners, and the online sellers, we count on them to be our partners as well. And obviously, the hope is that as soon as there's an identification of there being counterfeit goods, that again, the online sellers will cooperate and work with us in our investigation to make sure that we can eliminate them from the marketplace and then hold them criminally responsible when we're able to do so.
Well, some would say that we need more vetting or higher responsibility from these marketplace sellers before they even allow people on their platforms in the first place. Do you think that there might be something in the future done by your office to make them have those practices in place to prevent this?
Well, I will say this. Can more be done? Yes, there always can be more that is done. And we continue to work with the online sellers, obviously to encourage the quick identification of counterfeit goods and products, and of course to bring that to our attention as quickly as possible. So I think it's an always evolving process. I will say this, and we were just talking about this a minute ago, how the use of AI has made it a lot harder to identify the fake products and goods in a variety of different ways. And things that we used to at one time be able to count on to be able to say this is how you identify a criminal seller who is selling you illegal goods and counterfeit goods versus somebody who's legitimate has become just more and more difficult over time because of AI. And so, it's hard to have a specific set of standards that might change from one day to the next with increasing technology. And so I think that is really one of the challenges, to say, here are the things that you have to do, and here's the ways that we expect you to identify a seller of counterfeit goods. It might apply one day, and then the next day, it's not effective anymore. I am going to ask my attorneys if you guys have any thoughts on that at all.
Yes. So I think one thing that we're also doing in the result of this investigation is working with online sellers as well to help maybe make their checks and balances a little more robust. So I think it's an ongoing process. And like Attorney General Dana Nessel just said, in regards to the AI and how the bad actors continue to evolve, we are working with those sellers to also continue to evolve. So it is an issue that I think we are aware of, and that they're aware of, and that we are working to solve.
Like, since we were just talking about it, I wonder if you could indicate to everybody some of the ways that AI has made it more difficult, not just, of course, for the online marketplaces, but also for consumers. Like, what are different things that they can look for?
Yes, certainly. So one thing that AI is able to do is able to sort of replicate sort of legitimate sales sites, so that when you see an image, you used to be able to count on it maybe being lower resolution or something that looked a little bit and all sorts of information. Because a lot of times what these counterfeiters will also do is they will use groups that specialize in sort of getting into the marketplace and unlocking those things. And they will provide fake documents, likely also generated by AI and ChatGPT, to the marketplace that look more like legitimate receipts when in fact they are not. And we'll even go as far as having call centers that will be staffed. So if you call a number, someone will answer it, but it's not a legitimate thing. So it's really behooves the consumer to do their research and investigation. And then certainly what we are doing on our end and what the marketplaces are doing is continuing to evolve as well to try to nip those in the bud when we can.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Sunny.
Well, and if I'm just going to add, because just to talk more about it, to make sure that you're reading the reviews. And while clearly there are cases, and that is involved in this investigation as well, where there's some sometimes a manipulation of the reviews. Obviously, that's part of this whole process as well, is making sure that you're catching those manipulated reviews so that people can count on them. But we still encourage people to always read the reviews before they purchase really any product at all.
Yeah, Sonny.
Sonny from WXYZ-TV Channel 4. The boxes that are in this room right now, is it more than just cologne? Are there other counterfeit items that are in these boxes?
Oh,
Michael,
yeah.
do you wanna discuss
We got all kinds of things in here. Mike, do you want to go over all the different
Yep,
things
so
that are contained
in
here?
these particular items, in this particular case, it was mostly fragrance and cologne. There was some shoe items that we did uncover, Jordans, but in this particular counterfeit case, it was just fragrance and cologne, and these are these boxes. Some of the other things around the building are from counterfeit and other instances, but in this particular case, it was just fragrances.
Can you re-identify yourself, please? Name and
Oh,
spell.
yes, Michael Fries, and it's Friese.
Thank you.
John, did you also have a question? And if you would as well.
I had a few. John Hewitt from WWJ, and I can make some out.
Let's start with the first one and we'll come back to it.
Fair. Before we leave that topic, I think it's a very fair question, and I'm not trying to lay the blame on the marketplace, Amazons and Walmarts, but yet we're loading a lot on the consumer here in regard to what they got to do, in regard to what they have to be wary of. I'm interested, A, if you have a metric of how many marketplace listings you found to maybe be false or bogus. Do we have any ballpark idea of when we go on there, a third of them are crap or not, pardon my French? Or also, it is, as a consumer, I would think it is the responsibility of the person bringing that vendor to me via e-commerce to do a lot more. That's one person's opinion as a consumer.
Sure.
Take
Understood.
that on for me. in regard-
Understood.
Before we leave the topic of e-commerce responsibility and marketplace responsibility.
So I will say we don't have an exact metric of how much is counterfeit on a given marketplace. I will say that it is not uncommon, but most sellers there are legitimate. But so I would say that most are legitimate. I would say I don't know the exact number, but there are a fair amount. So it is, like I said, we continue to sort of work with those marketplace sellers. This is a relatively this counterfeiting, while it's been around for a while, the rise is relatively newer in this environment. So I think everyone is trying to sort of adapt and evolve, us included, the marketplace included, to try to get sort of a handle on the situation. And I think we are taking steps in that correct direction. So one thing that consumers can do, while it does sound like we're putting a lot on consumers, sort of work, it's almost like a partnership amongst everybody, if that makes sense, between the marketplace sellers, ourselves, making sure they hold people accountable, and also consumers making sure that they protect themselves as well.
Celine, were you able
Hold,
to add on?
hold on. Yeah, I was going to say.
So one thing to understand is when we're dealing with the online world, there is a limitless shelf life, meaning that the amount of data that is out there is really, really big. So some of our partners who have looked at product listings, they're not just found on a single location, but it's multiple multi-channel listings. And for some brands, it's in the millions on a daily basis that they detect these listings. So it is a large amount of potentially problematic listings. So the trick is that when you have this open-ended shelf life, the volume and velocity, just the sheer amount of these illegitimate, illicit listings makes it hard to contain the problem. This is why tackling this with only one strategy becomes a near impossible task. And this is why we advocate that yes, the platforms, law enforcement, all of us have a role to play, but it's also important amid the current digital environment. We're talking about thousands of digital interactions that each individual has on a daily basis. And a lot of them are fake information, fake product reviews, fake product listings. Even influencers are promoting counterfeit products on major social media platforms. So it is critical for the consumers to also be aware and wary of their shopping behaviors. Online shopping is extremely convenient. So unlike when you're shopping for a product from a brick and mortar store, you kind of have to get up, put pants on, and drive to that shop, and all that is creating time for you to review the arguments and your intentions for buying this product. And when you're at the brick and mortar store, you're able to feel and touch the product. If you have a relationship with the brand, you can see indicators and cues that something is off. In the online world, this process is reduced to milliseconds, because from the time you see that listing to the time that you make a decision and you click, it's a matter of milliseconds, and the product is already being shopped to you. And this is why it is critical for us to make the consumers aware that this is out there. Oftentimes when we talk to consumers, they barely associate counterfeit products with buying a fake bag or fake clothes, but it's much more when dealing with pharmaceuticals or fragrances. And we were having a discussion earlier of like, who would think that you would want to buy fragrances in an online store? Don't you want to smell it? But we have to understand that the shopping behavior of consumers has dramatically shifted. So that's area number one. The other thing is the complexity is added by the sophistication of counterfeiters themselves. They're often 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone else because they have no structures to protect. So if a shop is closed, they will open it the next day. They will do a new profile and produce the same products, or resort to social media, invite people to their own social media. So it's really complex within that environment that we do feel that consumers have a role to play in just pausing before they click. It is not their sole responsibility, but it's a joint responsibility.
Joe and Ed, did you want to discuss efforts as well?
No, I think we would, any specifics and the numbers you requested, I would obviously put you in touch with people better equipped to answer that. But what I will say is that that's why we take pride in these partnerships, and thank the Attorney General's office, the state police, and the Force Task Force as a whole for helping us combat this activity and get bad actors off our platform. So again, we want to thank them for the continued partnership.
If I may, real quick, and then in the interest of time, I'll stop after this.
I agree.
What I'm asking is, what are we expecting or asking people to do? I fully respect what the message, the importance of it, making people aware, I get it. But outside of what we are to do with it as consumers, we hear you say this today. Are we just not to trust online vendors anymore, beyond reading reviews of the people we're buying it from? What is the nugget you want people to take away from what you're sharing with them today and their risk?
Look, I know that a lot of the online sellers aren't going to be thrilled to hear me say this, and I am unique in that I live in the metropolitan Detroit area, so I live very close to all kinds of different stores, which is not the case for everybody, right? But this is a real life story involving me and my consumer habits. I was out of my favorite fragrance, and I waited to go to the store to purchase it at the store because I knew about this case. And I just thought, I'm not sophisticated enough. I'm old enough that I feel like I don't have all the skill sets necessarily that maybe my kids have in terms of being able to navigate, online purchases. So for this, and you can't do this in all cases, and I appreciate not everyone can have this luxury. I waited until I had a weekend where I had time. I went to the store and I purchased it directly from the store where I knew it would not be counterfeit because I was so afraid of making the same exact mistake. The other thing I would say is that purchasing it directly from the manufacturer, that also, right, alleviates this problem. Now, will it be more expensive? It might be more expensive, but also that's because it's authentic and it's authentic. And as we always say, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is, but that's true. I mean, how else would you have a product of any of these, luxury, cologne or perfume brands, and you're selling it for 30% less? Like, how did that happen if it's not counterfeit? I mean, it just stands to reason. So I know that's not necessarily the answer that everybody wants, but I mean, in the olden days, that is how we always did our shopping, and maybe that's just what I'm used to. But I could have purchased it earlier. I purposely didn't. I waited, I went to the store, and now I know 100%, I am confident that that perfume I purchased is legitimate. So,
If I just may add one thing, even when consumers, after buying the product, they think it's counterfeit, it's also important not to continue using it or giving it to your loved ones. Inform the platforms. Also, there is a mechanism through the Informed Consumers Act to inform the Attorney General's office that this is so important to create that mechanism where consumers can become more proactive when wrongdoing is happening to them.
And I'll highlight here for you too, John, just that these were marketplace sellers on these platforms, and that is distinct from purchasing from Walmart on Walmart's website.
Understood.
And often those are listed when you're on the page purchasing the product at varying price points, whether you're purchasing from a marketplace seller versus the actual retailer. And I think in this conversation, that's a notable distinction. Buying at the same URL may be different purchasers. We're talking about a scheme that was conducted by marketplace sellers. I'm going to go to Brandon.
can I just interrupt though? I just
Yeah.
want to say something on when we're talking about the discontinuation of usage and things of that nature, and something that is, I think most people will find quite frightening, but I think it's also important to talk about, that it seems obvious when you have a liquid that liquid possibly is, if it's counterfeit, could have chemicals in it that are detrimental to your health. But the fact of the matter is, it's not just perfumes. It's also things like shoes. It's also things like, jeans that, one might think, well, I don't care if this is actually counterfeit or not, because it looks like the real thing and that's what I'm going for, or it fits the way that I had hoped it would, or something of that nature. But what you don't know is how it's manufactured, and you might have materials that are actually touching your skin, touching your feet, and they have very dangerous chemicals embedded within them. So, for the people who are like, I know this is counterfeit, but I'm going to purchase it anyway, it's still never a good idea.
All right, we're not quite in talk as fast as you can time, but I am running into the minutes we have, so I'll just ask the follow-ups. I'll be coming back to folks, but follow-ups ought to be real good, and obviously that one was. We got 8 answers on one question. I got Brandon over here at level 12.
Brendan Greenshire with Level 12 News. Are there unique challenges to prosecuting cases like this, given the online aspect of the marketplace? For example, companies like Amazon and Walmart are headquartered in other states. Does that pose any problems when it comes to prosecution here?
Eric, Michael?
Certainly. Each case sort of has its own sort of complications. Obviously, these cases do as well, but what we have is strong partnerships with the retailers, Amazon, Walmart, so that we are able to work with them to uncover these cases and get these evidence, despite the fact that they may be several states away or distances. We are able to communicate with them very readily. So there are certainly nuances in all these cases, but there's nothing particularly different about these cases than any other sort of criminal investigation that we can handle.
I also have Joe Wheatley here from Amazon who would like to address this
Let
one.
me speak to your question.
Oh, yeah, they have all their
Thank you.
microphones on that.
Thank you. Our counterfeit crimes unit sits in 6 countries, so we go wherever the bad actors are, wherever law enforcement is located, to support these investigations and prosecutions all the way through. One of my colleagues is right now testifying in court in California to support a case that we're working on. I just got back from India. We have people in China, Singapore, Spain, Italy, UK, and the United States. Former law enforcement, brand protection experts, so we go wherever we have to. We'll come here, like I'm doing right now, to support this all the way through to the end, anywhere in the United States, anywhere else in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to go to Elaine.
Hi, Elaine Portas-Castillo with CBS Detroit. So something that I think is interesting is that there are people in different areas that are considering the idea of a class action lawsuit when it comes to things like this. Is that something, and obviously I know this is a unique circumstance, is that something that your office is prepared for? How are you looking to support if there's, let's say, a group of people that decide we've been defrauded by X, Y, and Z sellers, and we decided we want to go as a unit versus trying to do this individually?
Well, I don't know if you guys want to address this. We don't, obviously, we don't engage in class actions where we're, representing the, we do have some cases actually that where we seek indemnification and restitution for consumers. But this particular unit, this is criminal in nature. These are criminal investigators and criminal prosecutors. But, I can't see that we wouldn't, when we're able to share information with consumers who are bringing their own cases, so long as it does not, you know, jeopardize the criminal investigation or prosecution. And we do that for
I think
those.
to distinguish, you know, a civil remedy class action lawsuit isn't particularly connected to the work of the force team in the criminal prosecutions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, that's
that.
something that people tend to question, so I was just wondering if there
Sure.
was any kind of overlap at all.
Sure. And I have Jack, and time for just two more.
Yeah, I'm Jack Rowan, Spectrum News. My big question for you is, do you have any estimates on how much, counterfeit goods cost the Michigan economy, or any kind of ballpark?
Celine, are you able to speak to that?
We don't have that, I don't think we have that much data because, quite frankly, the Customs and Border Protection does have estimates across the United States. I'm not sure that they have specific to Michigan, but the idea is that in every prevalence of a counterfeit product, someone in Michigan might be losing a job because someone is buying a product that is not authentic. It does jeopardize jobs here in Michigan as well as in any other state. So there is a deep economic toll that extends beyond just buying a one-off or a knockoff. There is an impact.
I'll turn back to our Assistant Attorneys General. We do have some dollar values for relative to the product seized in this.
Yeah, I believe it's a fairly conservative estimate that the value of the product in this room exceeds $10 million marketplace value of cologne.
And I'm sorry, Jack, could I step on the second half of that question?
Yeah, and this the second half for the Attorney General. For someone watching here, and I'm 25. I'm sure I've gotten counterfeit goods. We all go on Temu. What would you say to kind of sell a consumer? Be like, hey, report this. How would you tell that to a consumer every day? My mom does it all the time. I think she just got a big Gucci wallet. But how would you kind of describe? Be like, hey, look at this. This is actually hurting. Mom's not off. She lives in UP, so she's not getting Gucci wallets in town. But how would you tell that to an everyday customer that this really doesn't affect just the criminals making money, but it affects shops all around Michigan and all around the country?
Yeah, well, as was discussed, first of all, it does impact the people who actually are legitimately, making these products or putting these products together, and so it affects the economy from that standpoint. But for the consumer, if you don't report it, then, law enforcement's not going to learn about it. The companies aren't going to learn about it, and law enforcement won't learn about it, so we can't put a stop to it. So then the illegal behavior continues, and they're going to, whoever the illegal seller is, will just continue to be able to put their item that is, at best not legitimate, but at worst dangerous, into the marketplace. And the only way to stop it is by people reporting it. But the other thing is there's a deterrence value as well, right? I mean, these are serious crimes that these individuals are charged with. And if you look at, which is our Michigan RICO statute, that's no joke. That is a serious offense. Our department sends people to prison for that all the time. And I think it's important to know that and to recognize that there are going to be people who see all of this today, because you guys are reporting it, who might be engaged in this kind of conduct and say, you know what, it's not worth going to prison over. And I don't know what the percentage chance is that I'll get caught, but I don't want to take that chance because I don't want to go to prison. But will that ever happen if your mom doesn't report it when she finds out that she's purchased a counterfeit product? More likely than not, we won't know about it at that point. Now, I will say in my conversations with with Amazon, with Walmart, is that there are purchases that are made from time to time from these sellers, and then those products are tested to see whether or not they're legitimate. And obviously there's other means of that, and they're supposed to get something from the manufacturer that they then submit, but as we've talked about, those can be doctored as well. So the actual online marketplaces will from time to time purchase these items, test them, and ensure that they're legitimate, and if they're not, obviously discontinue their purchases from that seller, and then hopefully bring it to our attention so that we can look to prosecuting individuals who are engaging in that behavior. But none of that happens without a report. And that's true of anything, right? We talk about how underreported you know, sexual assaults are. We talk about how underreported hate crimes are. There's so many different crimes. This maybe being one of the, you know, the largest in terms of people not reporting the crime when they know that a crime has occurred. So it's important to know, like, when you're being defrauded in this way, you know, this is a criminal offense, and it needs to be treated by consumers as one.
And what's the best way to report? Real quick, what's the best way? If you could tell someone right now, they could be scared to go to the police station, they don't, you know what I mean? There's a lot of fear in that as a consumer, because I don't get in trouble. What's the best way to report?
Right.
Yeah,
What you
we've
guys
got Joe over here.
I may add, for your question, it actually ties in with the prior question from the reporter on the second row. Reporting to Amazon, we field consumer complaints, and we take those very seriously. In fact, they're vital for the kinds of signals that we use to identify criminal networks, to then refer them for prosecution or civilly sue them. And to your question prior about suits, our team files extensively in the United States and abroad against bad actor sellers, distributors, suppliers. Since 2020, we have referred for prosecution or civilly sued more than 24,000 bad actors worldwide. Okay, and we support those all the way through, whether it's on the civil or criminal or both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jeremy, getting Fox 2 on?
Jeremy, Fox 2. I was wondering, just quickly, if you guys could talk a little bit about the contributions. I know it's a really large-scale investigation. If you could talk about the MSP contributions to all this, our Michigan State Police.
Yeah, so if I understand your question correctly, you're just looking, I guess, for like manpower. So obviously,
What kind of resources went into the investigation, like a scope? It can be big, 'cause I know it's still not.
yeah, so obviously, I mean, we had troopers, we had sergeants. I believe we had approximately 40 people.
Over 20 state police.
Yeah,
involved in this.
you know, when search warrants were executed, obviously the investigation's ongoing, so they're continuing to follow up with additional investigations, additional interviews, and investigative things, I guess, that keep coming in. So,
Just in southeastern Michigan alone, is this cologne perfume was the largest, just in perfume and cologne, just in southeastern Michigan period?
as far as I'm aware, it's the largest one in the state of Michigan that I have knowledge of.
Yeah, I got time for one more. John, did you have a follow-up?
Just on the connection of the defendants potentially, did they know each other? Was it a quote-unquote network? And were all of these products produced out of Sterling Heights that was originally referenced? If you can give us more idea of the cohesion, if there was, amongst this group.
Connection between and then location of production? I think
Right,
was the
meaning
second
that
one.
one of the gentlemen was running a warehouse where I believe you said it was produced in Sterling Heights, unless I'm wrong, as to where they made the product, where they got it.
So basically how these people were connected is they all sort of were in this warehouse together and sort of shared a space in these warehouses, and they sort of shared product amongst themselves. One of the individuals, Mr. McIntyre, did have a warehouse that he also had off-site as well, but he got that product from this main warehouse in Sterling Heights. And they sourced that material from really all over the nation, New York, sort of sourced it from that, and the ultimate origin was from China. So it's a rather complicated supply chain coming from, China to distribution centers in likely larger cities such as New York, and then it disperses out to individuals such as the ones that we are charging today.
So China was the source of all of the material being produced or manufactured?
This is where the stuff was manufactured, correct, yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody for your time coming today. Appreciate, feel free to take shots of the room from where you are, and we are available at agpress@michigan.gov for any follow-up questions. We're working a full day. Ready to roll?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.